One thing I gotta give credit to George Lucas for right away is how this movie and the rest of the prequels have a bunch of new designs for ships, characters, planets, everything. As a kid growing up, collecting all the toys was awesome, and going to all the new planets was mind-blowing.
The ambassadors for the Supreme Chancellor wish to board immediately.
Yes, of course.
Also, just seeing TVs in Star Wars have like 480p resolution is hilarious to me.
Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you want Obi-Wan in the Phantom Menace to be absolutely ruined for you, watch clips of the Obi-Wan game that came out like 20 years ago. The way Obi-Wan sounds in that game is so funny.
Yes, Master. There is an Elcott transport station nearby.
Yes, Master. There's an Elcott transport station nearby.
Masters, I felt something behind their attack. Something more complicated. Sinister.
Master, I sense something sinister. Also, my friends and I love memeing the Cato Nemoidians so much.
She can't do that. Shoot her or something.
He can't do that. Shoot her or something. This is the best part about being a Star Wars fan. Just memeing the characters all the time.
I don't want this stunted slime in my sight again.
One of my biggest problems with The Phantom Menace is that it's overly complicated for a kids movie at times. Believe it or not, every Star Wars movie and show is for kids. George Lucas himself has said this so many times, but it really gets complicated when they start talking about if a trade blockade is legal and the politics behind all of that. Obviously, as a 23-year-old, I understand this, but there's no way a 10-year-old Goldman understands what the hell is going on. Having a movie where there's an entire Senate debate about taxes and the legalization of blockades, and also having the same movie have poop jokes, it has a conflicting tone.
Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
And yes, I love the memes just as much as the next guy.
Sorry.
Man, the Trade Federation must be really scummy if they can poison an entire conference room by the press of a button. Also, watching this scene reminded me of another funny moment from a different movie.
Poison, yeah!
I don't know why, but as a kid, seeing Qui-Gon stick his lightsaber into the wall was the coolest thing ever.
They are still coming through.
As an adult, I honestly don't think I can watch this movie without laughing at the Cato Nemoidians. Not because they're bad, but because they're just so over the top. I love it.
It's a standoff. Let's go.
The speedrunning that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan do here is one thing that always really bothered me. Not once do we ever see this done again. Not in this movie, not in any of the other movies, not even in the Clone Wars. I just find it so odd that Lucas created this ability for the Jedi for it to only be used once. Strange, for sure.
You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short.
Seeing Obi-Wan make a joke here is awesome, but it also ties into a major problem that I have with this movie. It rarely happens in this movie where two characters are actually talking to each other about something that isn't the plot. The best scenes that usually reveal a lot about the characters are scenes where two or more people are talking about personal issues they have or some other personal shit. In this movie, rarely does this happen. Obi-Wan is also criminally underused in this movie. I feel like we barely get to learn anything about him. This joke is funny, and I think had this movie added one 2 to 3 second shot where Qui-Gon just laughs with Obi-Wan would have added a lot to their dynamic. I just wanted more from these two in this movie. Theed looks so beautiful here. George Lucas is really in a class of his own when it comes to being a visionary.
A communications disruption can mean only one thing. Invasion.
This is my favorite meme in the movie, by the way. My friends and I joke about this all the time because it makes no sense.
This is a dangerous situation, Your Highness. Our security volunteers will be no match against the battle-hardened Federation army.
The acting here is not bad, but I just hate how no one has any energy. Like, if my planet was getting invaded, I'd like to think I'd be more passionate about what's going on. I don't know, that's just me, I guess. And now we are introduced to Jar Jar, the most hated character in Star Wars. I am such a weirdo when it comes to Jar Jar. I genuinely find him funny. I can't put my finger on why though. Maybe it's just his over-the-top nature, but watching this one clip makes me laugh so hard.
Oh, muy, muy, I love you.
You almost got us killed. Are you brainless?
I spec.
Also, the way he speaks is so dumb, I love it. Muy, Misa Jar Binks, Misa Yamba servant. I can do an impersonation of Jar Jar all day.
You saved my again.
What's this?
Obi-Wan saying, "What's this?" is so funny to me. Instead of saying, "Who's this?" he says, "What's this?" You just don't say that about other people, and since it's Jar Jar, it's hilarious.
Excuse me.
No joke, I always say "excuse me" instead of "excuse me." Unless I'm in public, of course. Literally, ask my friends, I say this all the time. Easily my favorite aspect of the prequels is the world building. The worlds that George Lucas created are phenomenal. The idea of a city of bubbles underwater is so cool. A city where you can just like walk through this weird wall and you're just inside and not in water anymore. That's awesome. It really immerses you into the world and makes you feel like you're in a galaxy far, far away. It doesn't matter what you think about the prequels. The kids that watched these movies felt immersed in this world more than anybody. And that's all that really matters.
No, again, Jar Jar. You are going to the bosses. You are in big doo-doo this time.
I'm actually starting to have a realization that I subconsciously talk like Jar Jar quite a bit when I'm around my friends, especially if I've had too many death sticks, if you know what I mean. First it was, "Excuse me," then it was, "You saw in big doo-doo," and now it's also, "How would?"
How would?
The speediest way to the Naboo is going through the planet core.
The planet core. I should have been a voice actor.
Your gods demand that his life belongs to me now.
Wait. I actually think this is the first time I've noticed this. Did Qui-Gon just attempt a Jedi mind trick? That's a cool subtle detail I've never noticed before. Oh, I've memed that before way too many times, if you know what I mean.
This is nonsense. Oh, Gooberfish.
Why were you banished, Jar Jar?
Okay, so far I've been mostly talking about little things I like here and there, which isn't really the direction I want to take this series. I usually love to dive deep into structures of opening acts and how we are introduced to the characters. But to be honest, I think this movie does a really poor job at that. About 20 minutes in, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan don't really have any personal motivations. Why do they want to help the Naboo? Why were they the ones sent on this mission? I get frustrated with this movie because the most well-developed characters in the Phantom Menace are Anakin and Jar Jar, not Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. If I asked you to describe Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon's personalities or desires at this point in the story, or really at any point in the story, you guys probably couldn't give me a good answer because I couldn't give you a good answer. Qui-Gon is wise, I guess. He has a bit of a morally gray area, but that's all I can really say about him. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are on this mission because they were told to go on this mission, and there's literally nothing more than that. I find that to be relatively uninteresting. But going back to Jar Jar, he is the most well-developed character in this movie. We understand his personality very well. He's clumsy, kind of stupid, but he has a good heart. We understand his motivations. He's been banished by his Gungan fellows, and he kind of wants to prove himself. Also, Naboo is his home planet, so he doesn't want his home invaded. Part of me wishes that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan got this kind of development, not Jar Jar.
Relax.
You overdid it.
This scene also really frustrates me. Besides Jar Jar and Anakin, none of these characters ever show realistic emotion. Like, Obi-Wan is currently driving? Is that the right verb? Well, Obi-Wan is driving away from a giant monster that's about to eat them all, and he and Qui-Gon don't care at all. Now, you may argue that they are confident, I guess, and that's probably true, but I'd still much rather prefer the characters to show an ounce of emotion. Like, have Obi-Wan lean forward to focus or yell at Jar Jar so he can focus. When Han was flying through the asteroid field, he wasn't relaxed. He was confident, but he wasn't relaxed. He was focused and talking really fast, showing that there's something at stake. This is the kind of emotion I want from Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in this movie. As a kid, very few things were cooler to me than the Trade Federation Army. Even as a 23-year-old, I still get excited seeing the entire army march in the Theed.
Viceroy, we have captured the Queen.
As an adult, I love how realistic some of these scenarios are. There are actually a decent amount of parallels you could draw between this movie and what's going on in Ukraine. Star Wars is based on world history, so it makes sense that I try to draw parallels too. I know I'm repeating myself here, but like this city is being invaded and there's nothing but peaceful things going on. I think it would have been much better if, you know, the Trade Federation like bombed a few buildings or whatever, and then we really saw an angry and emotional Queen Amidala being forced to surrender. These people are having their home invaded and none of them seem angry in any way. They're stoic. Even when they're being rescued by Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, they literally just stand there and watch. No signs of relief or remote shock that two Jedi showed up out of nowhere. This movie lacks urgency from its characters, and when that happens, it's tough for the viewer to get invested. This static noise when the droid gets force pushed always stood out to me. I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but I like it.
Where are you taking that?
To Coruscant.
Coruscant, that doesn't compute. Wait, you're under arrest.
Watching the droids talk in this movie reminds me of how much I hate the droids in the Clone Wars.
Surrender? That's a relief. Notify the tactical droid?
Coruscant, that doesn't compute. Wait, you're under arrest.
Listen to the droids talk to each other in the Clone Wars and tell me that show is not for kids.
Shield generator's been hit!
I actually like this escape scene here. This one guy is actually showing emotion, which I like, and seeing the droids get picked off one by one adds tension. I like it.
This is my apprentice, Darth Maul.
Sometimes I completely forget that Darth Maul was introduced in the Phantom Menace, and he's not an animated first character. He was done so well in the Clone Wars that when someone says Darth Maul, I think of the Clone Wars, not the Phantom Menace.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Great meme. This meme gets the Gold Man seal of approval. Click on the link here to watch Overanalyzing Star Wars The Phantom Menace Part 2. If you don't see the link, the video hasn't come out yet. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to unite the Cloud Squad, and I will see you guys next time.